At first glance, Lake Lanier looks like a summer postcard. Blue water, forested hills, marinas, fishing boats, families pulling coolers across warm docks. Just north of Atlanta, it is one of the busiest recreational lakes in the American South. But the surface is only the first layer. Under this water are old roadbeds, foundations, tree stumps, bridges, and the traces of land that once had farms, churches, cemeteries, and homes. Places where people lived, worked, worshipped, buried their dead, and expected the ground beneath them to stay dry. Then, the dam came. In the 1950s, the United States built Buford Dam on the Chattahoochee River in North Georgia. The goal was practical and ambitious: control flooding, generate power, support water supply, and create a reservoir for a growing region. As the dam rose, the valleys behind it slowly changed from land into lake. What disappeared was not a single lost city in the simple movie trailer sense. It was a landscape. Roads ended at the waterline. Farms were bought. Families moved. Structures were cleared, abandoned, or left in pieces. Cemeteries were relocated where they were officially known and documented. But the story of any reservoir is never only engineering, it is also memory. And at Lake Lanier, memory has never stayed quiet. The lake covers land in several North Georgia counties, including Hall, Forsyth, Gwinnett, Dawson, and Lumpkin. It follows the old valleys of the Chattahoochee and Chestatee rivers, spreading into long fingers of water that twist between wooded slopes. From shore, it can look peaceful and controlled. From beneath, it is uneven, dark, and complicated. Before the water rose, this was not an empty place. There were roads here, small communities, family farms, church grounds, burial places. Ordinary rural Georgia terrain that once flooded became invisible to anyone passing overhead in a boat. That invisibility is part of the lake's power. A person can swim above an old road without knowing it. A boat can pass over a former hillside. A fisherman can drop a line into water that covers ground where people once walked to church. The lake is modern recreation layered over a buried map. The most sensitive part of that buried history is connected to Oscarville in Forsyth County. Online, the story is often flattened into a simple claim that the lake was built over a black town and that the lake is haunted because of it. The real history is more complex and more serious. In 1912, Forsyth County was the site of racial violence that helped drive black residents out of the county. That happened decades before the reservoir was filled. Later, when Lake Lanier was created, land connected to former communities in the area was covered by water. Over time, these two histories fused in public memory: racial violence, displacement, submerged land, and a lake with a growing record of tragedy.
The facts do not need exaggeration to be disturbing. A reservoir can be beautiful and useful. It can supply water, protect downstream communities, and support millions of visitors. But it can also cover loss so completely that people forget what was there. Lake Lanier's danger is not supernatural, it is physical. Beneath the surface are submerged trees, old foundations, uneven bottom contours, and debris from the original landscape and decades of heavy use. In clear daylight, the lake can look open and harmless, but underwater visibility can change fast. Depth can drop suddenly. A swimmer can tire farther from shore than they realize. A boater can misjudge speed, distance, traffic, or alcohol. And on a lake this busy, small mistakes can become fatal. Every summer, Boats move across the same coves where swimmers enter the water. Jet skis cut through wakes, families anchor near shore. People jump from docks, some wear life jackets, some do not. The danger is rarely dramatic at first. It begins with ordinary confidence, a short swim, a loose life jacket, a crowded holiday weekend, a boat moving too fast, a person who thinks the shore is closer than it is. That is how many tragedies begin. Lake Lanier has gained a reputation far beyond North Georgia because accidents, drownings, and strange stories have repeated for decades. The folklore is easy to understand. When a lake already covers homes, roads, cemeteries, and a painful local history, every death seems to echo louder. People talk about ghosts, they talk about curses, they talk about the lake pulling people under. But the most credible explanation is also the most unsettling. The lake does not need a curse to be dangerous. It has depth, it has traffic, it has submerged hazards, it has visitors who underestimate it, and it has a hidden landscape that most people never see. That hidden landscape is what separates Lake Lanier from an ordinary vacation lake. It is not just water held behind a dam. It is a place where the past remains physically present, even when it is invisible. The same is true across America. Many reservoirs were created by flooding valleys, farms, river towns, roads, and burial grounds. They were built for reasons that made sense to planners: water, power, flood control, navigation, growth. But from the point of view of the people who lived there, the story was different. Progress arrived as a survey line, a government notice, a cleared cemetery, a final trip down a road that would soon vanish. Lake Lanier is part of that larger history. It shows how a body of water can become two places at once. On the surface, a lake of recreation, real estate, tourism, and summer escape. Beneath it, a drowned landscape of memory, danger, and unresolved history. That is why the lake holds attention. Not because every rumor is true, not because every shadow in the water is a ghost, but because the real story is strong enough without invention. A dam changed a river, a reservoir covered a valley, people were moved, cemeteries were relocated, communities disappeared from the map, and decades later, millions of visitors crossed the surface without seeing the world below them. Lake Lanier is not just a lake with a dark reputation. It is a reminder that water can hide almost anything. A road, a house, a grave, a history people would rather simplify. And sometimes, the most unsettling thing beneath the surface is not a legend, it is the truth.